Hey everybody, welcome back. This is another GDevelop tutorial. So this is continuing my maze game tutorial series. I've changed my main player character to a little adventurer here. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do two things. We're going to add some background music to our game, which will be awesome. And then we're going to do a basic animation to our main character. So we'll be using Piskel for animations. All right, let's get into it. So you want to come over to your events sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this button here and just create a new group. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it audio. And I'm going to add a new event that gives me a condition and an action. I'm going to add a condition, and I'm going to go over here and click on other conditions. And I want to go to scene, and I want to choose at the beginning of the scene. Click on OK. So at the beginning of this particular scene, so the beginning of the game, add action. I'm going to go to other actions, and I'm going to go here to audio. I'm looking for audio. There we go, audio. And you've got you've got a couple different choices here, but two main ones: play music file and play a sound. Play a sound is for really quick sound effects, so laser blasts and things like that that are only a few seconds long. Play a music file is what you want for a longer music file. So now we've got this here. So I'm going to pause the video for a second, and we're going to switch over to a web browser. So these are 6 of my favorite free, royalty-free sound effects and music websites. If you publish your game, you do want to and need to give credit to all of the artists. But if you're just making a game for fun, like we're doing, and you just want to learn how to do it, you can go ahead and you can click on these here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use number 3 here called Bensound. And basically, when you get to these sites, a lot of them will have categories, and so you can go ahead and click on them. Because these are free, some of them have purchased or purchasable tracks, so just make sure that you're not clicking on those. So after a little bit of looking, I've discovered that this was the one that I want to use. Traditionally, you can press play. You can go ahead and preview the sound. Sometimes they give you a little play bar so you can fast forward it and all that good stuff. I'm going to go ahead. I know I want this one, and I'm going to go ahead and hit download. Now, if you were going to purchase your game and put it out there on app stores and things like that, you would need to, of course, purchase the rights for these tracks. So we're going to download it as an MP3, and there it has been downloaded. So now I'm going to go back to GDevelop, and I'm going to click right here where it says choose an audio file to use. So I'm going to click on choose a new audio file. I'm going to go to my downloads folder, and here it is right here. And when I do that, because it's in the downloads folder, it's going to ask, do you want to copy this to your project folder? And you always want to say OK to that. OK, so there it is. That's the right name. I'll press OK. And there we are. I want to make sure that this event, is part of the audio group. So I'm going to put my mouse pointer right on the little blue bar, left mouse click, and drag it into the right. Now it belongs because you can see it indents. Okay, and I can just close it up or open it up, and let's press play. Okay, so there you can see I've got my character moving around. And again, I don't know if this will be the finished song, but for right now, I think it works pretty well. Okay, good. Next, we're going to get into animations. All right, so I'm going to go back to my maze level here. I'm going to double click on my player to get into edit. All right, so with animations, you can leave them labeled as this, animation number 0. If you make another one, it'll be called animation number 1. I like to label these. So I'm going to go ahead and label animation 0 is now going to be called idle. So this is the idle animation. And right now there's no animation. The character is just static. But you could do an animation where the character is, you know, kicking their feet around or looking around, or I think I might add some sparks flying up from the torch there, just so there's a little sense of life. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to add a new animation, and a new animation is created. And for this one, I want it to be walk. Okay. Now, this little character was created in Piskel. So what I need to do is I need to click back up here on Edit with Piskel. And there he is in all his glory. I need to now download him as a PNG file. So I'm going to come on over here and I'm going to click on this fourth icon here called Export. And when I do that, you want to click on this little PNG tab. If you're not familiar with PNG files, it just means that this is going to be an image and all this checkerboard area here will be transparent. It'll be invisible. Okay, so I'm going to click on this very first button here that says Sprite Sheet File Export Download. And it's going to ask you, what do you want to call it? Right now it's called Idle. That's fine for me. And it's going to my downloads folder. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Okay, and then I'll press save again. All right, now for the walk animation, I want to start with this pose right here. So I'm going to click on Add. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to my downloads folder and I'm going to grab that idle.png that I just downloaded and press open. And again, if it ever asks you this, do you want to copy it into the project file? Always click on OK. All right, so now I have, for my walk animation, I have a starting frame. So now what I need to do is I need to click on Edit with Piskel for the walk animation, and I'm brought into the Piskel environment. Okay, now unfortunately I don't have a mouse pad, or sorry, a mouse with me. I just have my trackpad. So forgive my zooming in and zooming out. Okay, so basic animations in Piskel, if you've never done them before. Animations are done over here on the left-hand side. So this is your very first frame, and you can add a blank new frame. And when you do that, you're going to see flickering over here. And that's because it's going from my character to nothing. If I go ahead and I add in something, you'll see that it's animating between the two really fast. Down below the preview, you'll see it says 12 FPS. That means 12 frames per second. And I can go ahead and slow that down. So now you can see the 2 frames flipping in back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay. When you put your mouse pointer over a frame, you see a couple icons here. So you can click and you can delete the frame, in which case there's no animation. I can go back up to the original frame and I can duplicate it. When I duplicate it, that's really helpful because now I don't have to draw this character from scratch. Now I can just go ahead and I can make changes. So for instance, if I want this character's arm to move up and down, I can go ahead and I can do that. And then it will play between these here. Okay? And you can have as many frames as you want. For a walk animation, you don't need too many. I would say somewhere between 2 and maybe 4. And we're going to do most of the movement in just the legs, maybe a little bit of movement in his arm, just so he's got a little bit of life. And then I might add in a little bit of animation on the torch if I have time. So what I'm going to do is I kind of need to draw these little legs and feet by hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on the rectangular selection tool. And I'm going to get right at the top of the leg. I'm going to click and drag. And it highlights the area that I want to select in blue. If you leave your mouse pointer over the tool, it'll show you 3 different functions. So you can copy, you can paste, and you can move the content. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and it says to hold and move the content. So I'm going to put my mouse pointer right over the content. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and then I'm going to left mouse click and drag the foot up here. Okay? And you'll see it looks weird, but when I click out here, you'll see that it kind of stamps it down right there. And the reason why I'm doing that is because Piskel won't allow me. What I wanted to do is I wanted to grab the foot and the leg and then kind of rotate it here so I wouldn't have to draw it. But Piskel doesn't allow that level of editing, unfortunately. So what I'm doing is I'm just sort of taking off the leg and the foot, as weird as that sounds, and I'm just putting it over here so I have reference. Now what I can do is I can come over here and I can grab the color picker and I can go ahead and draw and select the main color of the pants, grab the pencil, and I can go ahead and I can just draw it in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw these manually. I'll pause the video and come back when it's all done. Okay, so there are the legs in a walking position. Now what I need to do is, if you look over here, it's doing some weird stuff. I want to delete the very first frame where he's just standing there. Now, of course, I want to get rid of this reference image here, or the reference of the foot. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one frame with the feet spread apart. I'm going to duplicate it. So now I've got the two. And now I need to go ahead and start bringing the feet in. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do this next frame will be the legs close together or crossing over each other. And then the third frame will be the legs then apart again. So I'm going to try to do the bare minimum of 3 frames. Okay, so here's my second frame with the legs closer together. They really should be crossing each other as the legs do. Okay, so and you can see he's going crazy over here. That's at 12 frames per second. I'm going to bring it down to 6 and see that starts to look a little bit better. Okay, so now I need a third frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the first frame, frame 1, and I'm going to click on duplicate this frame, and it becomes frame 2. Then I'm just going to click and drag it down here so it becomes frame 3. So now we have legs open, legs closed, legs open. And you can see over here at 6 frames per second, let's maybe do 4 frames per second. Maybe 5. Okay, so I think 5 or 6 is probably going to be the winner. So it's not the smoothest walk animation, but with the least amount of time, it's doable. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press save, and you can see I've got my little walk animation here. I have nothing else animated. Of course, I could go in and animate his little arm moving up and down and the sparks of the fire. But for now I'm leaving this just as 2 animations, one called idle, one called walk, and I'm going to press apply. Okay, I'm going to come up here and save my game. And now let's finish up this tutorial by actually doing the code. So I'm going to go to the events sheet, and I'm basically going to say that when the right arrow key, the right direction, is pressed, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add a third action, and I'm going to say, I'm going to click on player, and I'm looking for animation. It should be in here. Here we go. So we have animations and images, and I'm going to choose play the animation. I'm sorry, not play the animation. So if you came here, you can just double click. We're going to do change the animation by name. Then when you click up here under animation name, it's going to show you which ones you have, and I'm going to choose walk. And they do have to be in quotes, so just make sure those quotes are in there. Okay, so now when the right key is pressed, it's going to set the animation of the player to walk. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to the left action, player, change the animation by name, walk. Okay, and I'm going to do that for the up and down, even though the animation isn't really moving up and down. So instead of doing it, I'm just going to copy and paste it. So I'm going to click up here and select it. Then I will right mouse click, choose copy. I'm going to come down here to the up action, and I'm going to choose paste actions. And then I'm going to come down here to the down action, paste actions. Okay, so now if I play test my game, you can see that my character plays the animation, but there's something wrong. I'm going to go back to my player, double click, and I forgot to turn on loop. So when I turn on loop and I press preview, you can see how fast the character is moving. Now, if I'm not happy with the speed, and right now it's 13 frames per second, I'm going to go ahead and bring it down. I think 8 looks pretty good. So 8 frames per second. Okay, so I have loop turned on and I changed the speed. I'll press apply, play, and now the character is not doing the animation, but as soon as I press the keys, he does the walk animation. The problem is that when I lift up on the movement keys, he keeps doing the animation. So let's finish up with this. All right, to do this, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and make some more events. I'm going to copy and paste just because that's so much easier. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select down here in an open area of my right key is pressed, and it's going to select the entire event going across. I'm then going to right mouse click and I'm going to choose copy. Okay. Now, I'm going to come down here where it says add new event, click on it, and I've got a new event. I'm going to click on the new event to select it, and I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to choose paste. And it put that right down there, and it's an exact copy. Okay, so now I'm going to double click. It says right key is pressed. I'm going to double click it, and instead of right key is pressed, I'm going to press right key was released. So when the player releases the right key, I'm going to click on OK. So when the right key is released, what's it going to do? Well, it's not going to move the character. Okay. And so actually I can I'm just going to delete this action, and then it's going to say I'm just going to change set animation of player to walk. I'm going to click on the word walk, and I'm going to delete walk, and I'm going to choose the idle animation. Okay. All right. So now when the right key is not being pressed, it's released. It's going to not flip my character, and it's going to do the idle animation. I'm going to drag this event up here so it belongs in the movement category, as this is also movement. Okay, so let me press this and let's press play. Okay, so the character is in idle, walks. When I let go of the right arrow, he stops. Left, and he keeps walking. Right, and he stops. Okay, so clearly I need to duplicate this again. Okay. So this looks good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this one. I'm going to select it in an open area. I'm going to right mouse click, copy. I'm going to add. Whoops. I'm going to add a. Make sure I have a new event. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to right mouse click. I'm going to choose paste, and you can see I've got this one here. Okay, so this is for the left. So on this one, I'm just going to change the right key, and it's going to be no longer right, but it's going to be left. Okay. And since it's going to the left, I am going to flip the character. Okay, so it's just the opposite. And this set animation is already set to idle, so there we go. And I'm going to drag and drop this up here so it's part of my movement group. I'm going to go back to maze, press play. Now the character's in the idle animation, right, left, and when I stop, it works. Okay? Now, up and down still needs to be done, but it's the exact same as right and left. So I'm going to stop the tutorial here, and I will see you next time in the very last tutorials. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.